Welcome. Just getting a little, I was going to try to start early today, but yeah, maybe we're early. Okay. So, the week has gone quickly. We finished some evangelistic meetings we were doing, and um, it's just been 6 weeks, 6 busy weeks, but that's okay. Good things. So, this week, we're going to just go ahead and leap right in. I look forward to spending roughly a half hour here with you. And yeah, interesting week. And we'll kind of look at some of the stuff we looked at in the Exodus as we're working through Exodus. And then we will, um, let's see if I can get the chats up here. Where is that going to be? See if there's any, see where the chats would be. Oh, and let's make sure we don't have crazy sound. There we go. All right. So here we go. Yeah, we're going to look at Exodus. Then we're going to look at mention this video that just I put up yesterday that's getting a lot of interesting reaction. And so looking forward to that. But anyway, welcome aboard. And yeah, the fall colors are changing and we're getting towards the wintry times. But let's look at what we looked at in Exodus this week. So Moses finally, Moses and Aaron finally go in. They talk to Pharaoh, and yeah, Pharaoh's not really in a happy mood that day, and he's already heard about this. Moses and Aaron, they got around, they were talking to the elders, and obviously this gets back to Pharaoh, and he's not glad to see any kind of organizing going on among the workers. It's just that's not his favorite thing. So the first meeting with Aaron and Moses goes really kind of poorly, and I don't want to reiterate every which thing I said in the devotionals, but one thing that I think is interesting is to realize that it does appear as you read the text that Moses and Aaron and maybe the elders, maybe they were all kind of anticipating this kind of like really easy moving out of Egypt. Oh, the oppression's going to be gone. It's unicorns and rainbows and happy days and smiley faces. But no, it's not going to start that way. It's not going to. This is going to be very intense, and so yeah, that's what we're going to have. We're going to have a very Pharaoh is not going to be letting go easily at all. So yeah, that's just not the way it's going to be. So, but it looks like Moses was expecting this very easy line. Oh, he's just going to say goodbye and away we'll go. But no, Pharaoh doesn't do that. He tightens the thumb screws, and now the workers have got to gather their own straw. It's not true what people said that they had to make brick without straw. What's true is that the Egyptians had been providing the straw, and now they're not going to provide it. So now the Hebrews have got to really scramble and provide their own, and they've got to. You can't just find straw in any which place. They have to gather up whatever stubble they can. It's got to be just the right kind of stubble. They don't make it, and so the Hebrew foremen get beaten by the Egyptians. So yeah, that's the way it begins. And then they come out after the Hebrew foreman go in and complain to Pharaoh and say, look, your people are, why are you unhappy with us? And they find out that Pharaoh's behind it. Pharaoh is tightening things up. So yeah, they come out and they blame Aaron and Moses. It's your fault. You've disrupted the status quo. You've changed things. We were oppressed, but at least we had Taco Bell. But now we're not oppressed anymore. I mean, rather, yeah, now we're still now we're even more oppressed. And so, you're trying to deliver as you say, but no, we don't, it's not working. You are the cause of our problem. The real cause of the problem was not Moses, it wasn't Aaron. The real cause of the problem was the oppression of God's people. That was the cause of the problem. Once you get to that, God says, I'm not gonna sit by. This isn't just going to this isn't just going to glide through. That's not all that's going to happen. I'm going to intervene. These are my people. I'm going to intervene for them. So no, as soon as you begin oppressing God's people, you have put yourself in the crosshairs of God's weaponry. So it's going to turn out in an interesting way. and you'd better figure out what's going on and where you need to be. So anyway, we still haven't gotten to the first plague, but it's coming on. It's coming up. Chapter 6, there's kind of a period of time here where things are going to be. We're going to handle a couple of bits, but then we're going to get into the first plague and onward through to the 10th plague. So anyway, it's coming up. We're coming right on it. In fact, as it is today, the devotional that you got this morning was the last one I filmed. So tonight I'll be filming more devotionals. Otherwise, you won't have one in the morning. So we'll carry on further on into chapter 6. So yeah, looking at that, it's not going to be easy. People have this picture, this idea, that Christianity, you accept Jesus and then it's like easy times all the way through. No, no. You accept Christianity, and that's when the devil especially turns his eye on you and he says, "Oh, we've got some resistance going on over here. We're going to push on that." He doesn't abide with any of that resistance stuff. So when you choose God, you're enlisting demonic forces to oppose you. You are enlisting on the side of the God of all right, the judge of all the earth, as Genesis 18 calls him. You're enlisting on his side, which is good. You get into the covenant with God, you're connected to him. He has commitments to you because you're in his covenant. He wants to find ways to bless you. But when you are at this spot where you cowardly knuckle under and just go along with whatever oppressions are there, yeah, that's going to turn out badly. So anyway, Pharaoh has instigated this. This isn't Moses. It isn't Aaron. They're not guys that, hey, had this brilliant scheme. Hey, let's cause mayhem and trouble to our people. God has initiated this. The people were groaning and complaining in prayer, and they were oppressed, and so yeah, God's not okay with that. So He's going to come and deliver them. Moses complains right before this chapters we looked at today. Hey, since I've come, nothing good has happened. All that's happened is trouble, and so yeah, that is the way it goes. It's not happy days. And so even Moses comes with this whiny, moany, awful, complainy prayer to God. And that's not, God is very gracious. God doesn't come back and say, "Hey, Moses, back up for a minute. You're full of whiny and moany and complaining. Look, I've got a whole nation," like somebody put in the comments here, "I've got a whole nation to destroy. Give me a minute." Not only, and we mentioned that God's going to do it his way, he's going to try to build the faith of the Hebrews, and he's going to try also to expand the minds or correct the minds of the Egyptians so that they can begin to see that, yeah, the Nile god, the crocodile god, the dung beetle god, and all the different gods, the Egyptians can kind of get a grip on that and say, "Hey, the dung beetle god he's not worth anything. He doesn't do anything for me. The cobra god, on Pharaoh's little hat, his little cobra hat, he's supposed to protect the royalty, Pharaoh, who's supposed to be kind of yet another god, incarnation of God. Yeah, he's not going to do very much success for Pharaoh. So God's going to systematically eviscerate all these fake gods with the 10 plagues as we work our way through. And he's going to show who the true God is and who's full of nonsense and baloney. So yeah, that's what we're on the verge of right here as we moving along in these new chapters coming up. So this is a paradigm really for all of us from the old times in the book of Exodus to today. The liberty that we enjoy today, at least we have enjoyed today, really kind of comes back, and it traces back historically, civilizationally, pretty much back to here. Exodus chapter 1 and following. This is where we really see the kind of values, the Judeo-Christian values that we have today. It comes back to the Bible, and it comes back in some particular ways here. God's plan for his people is that they will have liberty, not that they'll just be full of oppression. So yeah, God is at work to deliver his people, but if we think we're going to have this instant deliverance thing, we better think again, because God's people here are not ready to be delivered. They're used to everything in Egypt. They're used to being surrounded by all these fake Egyptian deities, supposedly. They're used to all that stuff. They're used to hearing Egyptian religion. They're not perhaps very used to God's pieces, God's true religion. And so there it is. God's really got to educate his people into a spot where they're ready to be delivered. Otherwise, what? They go out in the desert and set up shop as kind of Egypt, pseudo Egypt. So that's not going to fly. That's not God's plan. So God is going to deliver his people, and that sets a pattern for us all the way out here where we have liberty. Being oppressed, having a leader who oppresses you, that is false. That is not what humans are destined for or meant for. However, having a leader who is benevolent, because it's not a matter of choosing whether we have a leader or we don't have a leader. We are choosing either to have God be our leader, or we're choosing to have uh, Satan, a literal personal being, and his imps. Those people would have control and lead us. So we're kind of choosing between leaders. We don't get to choose whether we have a leader. We just get to choose which one. And so the Christian is trying to choose wisely which one. And we've seen, based on the character that God demonstrates, Jesus dies for us on the cross. He wants us, he invites us, he says, it's my good pleasure to give you the kingdom. I want you in the kingdom. That's God's plan. He wants to deliver us and bring us up so that we can be all we can be, and the devil's plan is just to squish us down and attack God, who he hates, through us, and so causing violence to us is his way to get back to God, back at God. So yeah, we have these two principles always kind of in opposition to each other, and we have a lot of times human governments come up, and they're supposed to be our protector, and good things. Good things will come from the government. Yeah, well, the government often turns into a situation where it's aiding and abetting the predatory um, action on the people. So so we need to have deliverance from any and all oppression, because God wants us to be more than that kind of a thing. So anyway, we've been looking here at Exodus, and God graciously does not tell, he doesn't slap Moses down and say, you big moaner, go away. God is just gracious and generous, and God sort of ignores all that moaning and complaining, and he says, all right, look, I'll tell you what, I'm on the verge of delivering the people now, where everything is settled, everything is set up, you are in place. Get ready, because basically I'm going to bring the people up to a spot where they can exercise sufficient faith that this deliverance is going to mean something. Otherwise, what? They go off out into the desert, and everything crashes and burns because they didn't learn to have faith in God. So there's kind of an important, really one of the more important lessons I found in here is that God, in order to be in a position to be delivered, we want to let God grow our faith. And so that's some of what we're going to see happening here. So watch for that as we keep on moving along through the book. So let me shift gears here to the business we had, or this video that I just put up yesterday, last night, just not that many hours ago. Um, I'm just looking if I have on hand here a couple bits. I guess I don't see them right here. So anyway, I put up a video, and I need to make a nicer thumbnail, but I haven't gotten around to it. Anyway, it's called Pope Francis Cultural Revolution. And what that's based on is on November 1 here, the Pope came out with a new letter uh, changing kind of the mission plan for this special theological institute that the Catholic Church has, and they changed it from one thing to another. And the Pope comes out, and in his letter he puts all these things about how we're moving from we want to have culture be the way an influence on how we understand the gospel. Instead of really looking at the scriptures like we try to do here on this website, the Pope wants to have people be informed. What he says, and they're all quotes, are in this little 5-minute video I did, but he has quotes where he's saying we want to let culture be the guide to how we understand the gospel. I mean, that's like so backwards. It's not that culture can't give us some insights. Okay, so yeah, okay. But to have the culture be an authority, for the culture to be a guide in understanding the gospel, there's so much weirdness and junk in the culture, in the mix. And you can't depend on that. But on the other hand, we have the inspired word, we have the inspired writings, the word of God, which tells us plainly, it reveals things plainly that we can't just understand by looking at a chipmunk or looking at a rock or looking at a tree or looking at a leaf. Or yeah, the other day there was this big giant turtle, probably about over a foot and a half long, walking down the side of my street here. And I went up and visited with that turtle a little bit. I haven't seen a turtle that big around here before. And yeah, looked at him, poked at his shell. He didn't like that. It didn't do him any harm. But by looking at that turtle, did I did I gain some big insight into the universe? I saw something kind of pretty, kind of beautiful, kind of interesting, one of God's creations. But yeah, I wouldn't want to draw 18 different lessons from that turtle and its shell and the way it's composed and the way it behaved. And that is not necessarily a big point of insight. So yeah, I'm not interested in that. What I'm interested in is going and finding truth that God has inscripturated, put into the Word. Either there is a God who can communicate with us through His Word, or there isn't. Either there is a God who communicates with us to us with propositional language, or there isn't. And if there isn't, we're just kind of on our own, and we're kind of an anomaly, a mathematical anomaly in a universe that doesn't have any meaning. Or God designed us, as the Bible says, Genesis 1, in His image. That means we have a reason, we can understand why we can appreciate beauty, why we view this thing as right and this thing as wrong. Those kind of pieces of having free will. And I know there's stuff coming out all the time. Oh, we don't really have free will. We're just products of our environment, and that's all it is. Really? Yeah. Are you going to build a life on that? That this is all predetermined, or more or less it's because we're all just subject to the space around us and the things that are happening around us. There's no meaning in life. Are we going to build a life on that? How are you going to build a life on that? What are you going to tell your kids when you have kids? Now, a lot of people don't have kids today. They'd rather have a poodle. Poodles are cool, but kids are superior. And kids are more trouble too. But yeah, you will grow as a person more when you have kids, because you have to. But if when you have kids and they ask, Dad, what is the meaning of life? What are you going to tell them? Well, son, I've been waiting to tell you this, but now you've asked the big question. Let me give you the big answer. There's no meaning to life. Nothing matters. We are simply a mathematical anomaly. We're a biological mistake. This is just a very extreme, beyond extreme mathematical improbability that life would exist as it does and the way that we do today. And so basically, your life has no meaning. Do whatever you want. Go out and get sweet tarts and eat them all day long until you fall over. That's all there is in life. Just find a cupcake and eat it. Hope you get to eat it before you die. That's all there is to life. If that's all there is to life, yeah, then how do you account for morality? How do you account for God's extraordinary design? How do you account for the evidence, the finely tuned argument here? I'm not here to do that today, but there's such a small space between, if the earth had been a little bit closer to the sun or a little bit further away, life wouldn't be the way it is. Just a little change in the atmosphere, everything would be dramatically different. Small changes in the way you are designed would make you a very different person, a very different being. So yeah, the way everything is designed is just extraordinary. And if you ever want to look into that, find something good on it, on the fine-tuned argument. That has won several atheists over into the viewing, revisiting, instead of all the nonsense we got in school and so on along the way, that there is no God and everything is just evolved. Some people have been changing their view. I had a post here. I read an article by Ehsan Hirsi Ali. I'm probably saying her name wrong. She's a Kenyan lady. She was a Muslim, very prominent prominently known, and maybe not necessarily in the circle you or I know, but she's very prominently known on the internet in some places. She was a very radical Muslim. She abandoned Islam, became an atheist, and was an atheist for many years. And she announced this week or the previous week, I think it was this week, she announced that she's embracing Christianity today. Because she said at the end of the day, none of these other things could hold, they didn't have meaning. They couldn't hold, life didn't have meaning as an atheist. Things don't fit together when you're an atheist. There's too many inconsistencies. So people are turning to God all the time. And so, yeah, those things are happening. Have you really seriously revisited? Have you ever looked into these things? Or you just kind of take what your parents, who maybe didn't know anything on this topic, just take what they had to say and say, well, Christianity is nonsense, just disregard it. Can you separate out the nonsense maybe that you were raised with or that they were raised with, that human teachings that weren't really teachings from the Bible? Can you stop and revisit and look at the Bible again and say, hey, what does the Bible say? You know, if God's true, why not look and just see what does he say in the Bible? Is that weird? Why wouldn't you? This is the book that is at the baseline of all the good things in our civilization. So yeah, you owe it to yourself to read through the Bible. You might do it like I did it when I became a Christian. Read through the New Testament, and then go back and read through the Old Testament, and see how that works. So yeah, might get some surprises that you did not expect. So anyway, I started to mention this video that I put up yesterday about Pope Francis and the cultural revolution. So he's calling for his big academy to make a change in how they are, how they do their work, and making a lot more engagement with culture, and not only tradition and scripture are their authority, but now culture. He wants to transition, instead of abstract ideas, which he's talking about a lot of the tradition and philosophy and that business. He wants to transition so that we're drawing more from the culture into deciding how we do Christianity, or at least how they do Catholicism. I'm a Protestant, so I'm looking from the outside. But anyway, that's wild stuff. So go take a look at that video if you're interested. It only came out in Italian, and I had to work with the translation. So, but I think it's significant, because he's kind of aligning himself, like basically, hey everybody, hey all you technocrats and people at the WEF and all that, just want you to know, Catholicism is plastic. We're modifying, we're malleable, we're going to modify what we do, and it sort of fits with your agenda. So I kind of want you to know that we're fitting in with your agenda. We're okay. We're nice people. We're good people to have in your club. I think that's sort of where some of that goes. And so, yeah, the technocrats don't know what they're dealing with. They don't know what the papacy is. They don't know the baseline principles that have been true for that group for centuries and centuries. Principles that have definitely historically associated with strong oppression of those who disagreed with them. Maybe those who disagreed sometimes because the Bible taught one thing and their church taught something altogether different. So anyway, take a look at our little video there. That's connected with that's a new playlist I have on the website I'm going to be developing. I'll try to put in a new video at least one a week if I can. That's called the Horizon Watch. We're going to look at prophetic developments and things that have been foretold and foreseen in the scriptures and so on. And we're going to look at those and compare what's happening in the world around us today with what's foretold. And I think that's going to be really interesting for us. So this is the first video in that series of things we're going to be doing by kind of watching what's going on and mentioning it. I'm going to speak about it out loud if that's okay. And if it's not okay, I'm going to do it anyway. So anyway, watch for those. And we've got a little newsletter that's going to bring those out week by week. You can sign up for, and you'll find out more about that if you view the video. So anyway, that's going to be at horizonwatch.net, which I haven't set up yet, but it's coming. All right, friends. So anyway, I think we're going to leave it there today. And I hope you enjoy the new devotionals that we're working on here. We're in Exodus chapter 6 and chapter 7 now. And we're going to come up here. We're going to be coming up to the first plague, the first of the 10 plagues. So we'll say more. We filmed that out. Thank you, anybody who views this. Thank you for joining me, and I hope you'll join me next week. I think we're in Eastern Daylight Time now. There was a clock change, so we're basically America Detroit time. I think it's UTC plus 5 hours, unless I'm mistaken, but I think that's where you'll find us. So come and join me next Monday, right here, and interact with me here. Give me some comments, and we'll carry on with a little YouTube live business. But God bless you, watch over you, and be in His Word. There's so much other nonsense incoming all the time from every other place. You owe it to yourself to be in the Word and hear from God Himself directly. Let His Word be an information source for your life. Start by reading the New Testament. See if the values you find in Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, the 4 Gospels, see if those are a good thing or a bad thing. Come on, try it out. Why should you rely on your university professor who's so kooky he doesn't know what pronoun to use? Why rely on him when instead we can get some insight from the source, from the creator of all that's good? God bless you. See you next week.